I'm booked for Eric on
All right,
Wednesday for the
this
first
is
time
gonna
in
be the
months.
thumbnail. We can't do the same thing, man. Come on, switch it
Okay,
up.
okay, okay,
Switch it
okay,
up.
okay, okay, okay. You have the cool one though.
All right, you want me to do something
No,
else?
no, no, no. Hold on, hold on.
Where are you? Where are you?
That's the thought
Where
process.
are you? Where are you?
Okay, okay, I got it, I got it.
This guy thinks he's Jay-Z, bro. Chill, man. Come on, man. Come on.
Yeah, let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
Do you think there are rules in friendships?
of course. Has to be.
Do you think rules vary depending on if it's you're friends with a dude or if you're friends with a girl?
Yeah, because there's obviously going to be some distance if you're having a friendship with a girl rather than if you're friends with a guy, right? You can't do certain things you do with your guy friends with your female friends
So
and
what
vice
is,
versa.
what is a rule that you would have with a female friend that
Interesting.
you wouldn't typically have with a guy friend?
Um, Interesting. When I think about my female friends, fam, it's a whole different ballgame, bro. Like I can't I can't go out the same way with them, you know. I can't be involved in their lives as
Why? Why not?
especially if okay, if a girl I'm friends with is talking to somebody, I don't want to get involved in their relationship at all.
So are you gonna keep?
At all.
Are you gonna kind of cut her off?
Not cut her off, but like I'll have some kind of a distance where it's obvious that I'm not trying to cross the line. You know what I mean?
Respect.
Yeah, like it's like a
Okay.
mutual respect. But if my nigga's in a relationship, I'm be like, yo, tell me all about her, bro. What is going on? How can I help? You know?
Okay, okay.
That's how I'm thinking.
So give me another one then.
Um, Also for guys, like for my guy friends too, like I find it like I don't necessarily like to poke and pry into their personal life unless I find an opening through them.
Oh, interesting.
You know what I mean?
So you actually gave me a perfect transition to what I want to talk about here today.
Yeah.
So what I've been noticing is that between two guys who are friends, there are a set of rules that every type of guy kind of abides to, right?
Yep.
And widely, this is kind of known as the bro code. You know, there's rules that you and your friend have, and it's kind of never stepped on, and it's a line that should never be kind of tipped over with, right? So my question to you is, do you think bro code do you think bro code is something that's still active in today's friendship with dudes? And two, what are some examples of bro code type of ideas that you have that you've kind of abided through your whole life? And three, and I'll kind of remember, I'll tell you this again, but
Yeah.
three, do you think it's something that should be in today's society?
That's a whole lot. And honestly speaking, yes, I think it's a thing. It does exist. But one thing I've noticed about this whole like unspoken rule bro code thing that we have as guys is
Yeah.
that it changes as we get older.
Okay,
You know?
okay.
So a lot of it, in my opinion, actually, I think when we were younger, we thought less of ourselves and more as the group. And what I mean by that is there's certain things, especially when you're coming up and you're experiencing things for the first time, like a love interest or something like that. There's certain unspoken rules, like not dating your friend's exes,
Yeah,
things like that.
100%.
Not just like there's like certain boundaries that you shouldn't cross. That's considered bro code.
Yeah.
That I find that once you get older in life, you start to contemplate different, or you start to think about differently because you have a lot more. You have a lot more of yourself that you know. You know, you've learned more about yourself, and you know more about what you want.
Yeah.
So in the case of a relationship that was with someone that was your friend, you'll probably enter that situation a little bit differently than you would as a teenager. You know, so I think as time goes on, it changes, but you become more personalized in the sense that you don't see yourself as the group
Yeah, I agree,
anymore.
I agree.
You know,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
become a person in that sense, right? So I kind of agree and I disagree because it helps you understand boundaries, like you were saying in the beginning. But as you mature and as you get older in your life, you start to realize that it's just you out here. You're not amongst this quote unquote group anymore.
So do you think bro code prior to when you're in like high school is different from when you're an adult?
Yeah,
And do you
definitely.
think it still consistently sticks around for the majority of men's life?
I think the idea of it is constant
Yeah.
throughout your life, no matter what age. You're always going to get some kind of pushback or something like that once you, quote unquote, break the bro code. But like I said, as you get older, you start to realize that there's things in your life that you need to be in control of,
Yeah.
and certain parts of that. Because, like, I would consider feelings a big thing that men find that they get as they get older, they have more of a control over in their lives and things like that. So, in that sense, when it comes to bro code, you start to become a little bit more, I don't want to say selfish, but more focused on yourself.
Individualized. Because
Exactly.
priorly, I totally agree with what you're saying. When you're in a group setting, everything, there's group law.
Exactly.
Like, it's kind of like the group has its own politics where you cannot go do your own thing. It's kind of like a group thing. And if you go past that, you're breaking the code.
Exactly.
And going to the point that you made, as we grow older, I think the perfect example of this is when we're in university. Everybody goes to their own school, their own program, and it's kind of, you become more of your own individualized person now, right? So now you have to kind of figure out how to still keep these friendships and at the same time still respect each other's boundaries, right? And I think that's when a lot of dudes go to these, like, this revelation of, I still want to be friends with these guys, but I need to grow as an individual, and as a result, I need to figure out how to maintain these friendships. And this is kind of how it works, right? Because let me give you a perfect example. Like, I remember when I was in high school, there was a time where a friend and I liked the same girl,
Yeah.
right? So, bro code rule number one: you can't be liking.
You don't be doing all that.
You can't be doing that. It's
Yeah.
disrespect. You can't be going out with or liking the same person as your friend. So, which internalized is the fact that both of you have to give up on her, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Like, did you ever experience that before? Where,
yeah.
like when you like someone, when your friend likes somebody, and then the awkwardness. I've seen it happen before, where the friend actually pursues goes after the girl, and then the relations between the two friends are kind of weird now because you're like, I told you I liked her. I put confidence in telling you that, and what you did is you went after this girl now, you know? And it fractures the relationship,
It's
right?
tarnished. Yeah.
100%. Do you have any examples, or do you have, like, back in the day, like...
You know, around the times where we were just figuring ourselves out, I personally like to always go back to high school and early college
Yeah.
when I kind of had like the eureka moments in those times in my life where I was just understanding where my footing was in society, who I was as a person, and just kind of getting out of the shell that was created for me through the group think and into my own personal shell, you know? And one thing I noticed about, and this is an interesting conversation that we're having, just the idea of being amongst the collective and having a group think or unspoken rules in that collective. It's in society too. Like we all know not to litter, right? But people still litter and stuff like that. You know, so like there's unspoken rules amongst any collective that you're a part of, right? But you hit it on the money when you said you become more individualized when you start realizing about yourself and who you are as a person. And it brings me back to my years in like college, early college or late high school, and thinking about those times, fam. Like I was at a crossroads almost where I only had one way of thinking, and this is like the bro code, the group think, the collective way of thinking. But then again, like you said, I was also trying to break out of my own shell and become my own person. So there's moments where you start to think, okay, should I do this knowing that it goes against the group think, even though it'll benefit me in the long run? And there's been times where I have said that, and even though after the fact I feel like it was a selfish decision, it benefits me almost every time I do that, you know? And it has hurt relationships that I've been in with other people in terms of like friends and like actual like partners. But it's a matter of growth, right? It's a matter of building, and you can't tie yourself down to a collective forever. You know, you're gonna eventually grow into your own self, and you have to make decisions that are harsh, right?
Facts.
That go against people and relationships that you actually have, right? I was in a part of my life, and I don't want to get too specific, but a part of my life, there was a time in my life where I thought I had a lot more than I deserved, right?
Okay.
And during that time, once that part of my life finished and I started to, you know, come to terms with my own reality, I started to notice that this life that I thought I deserved, or that this life that I thought I had, was being picked at by so much different factors, right? Whether it was people, whether it was like friends, whether it was like just external factors
Yeah,
online.
yeah, yeah.
It was being picked at and poked, and the only reason why was because I was letting it happen, thinking that, you know what, I don't deserve this life that I have, even though I've amassed what I thought was so much.
Yeah.
And then it got to the point where, like, that led me to realize my own self-worth, right? When time moved on, and I realized what I was doing was not healthy for myself. I realized my own self-worth in that, and that made me completely different in terms of my decision making with people and relationships, you know. And to tie it back to the conversation we're having now, I don't necessarily, the question you said before, is it still a constant thing, the bro code? I think as years go on, you start to lose your definition of the bro code,
Got
right?
you.
Because like you get more consumed in your life, you know,
Yeah.
like you'll end up having kids, you'll end up getting married, you know, you end up having this full-time job, career, whatnot. So there's less time for you to be amongst a group setting, to
Yeah.
have this group think, and you be more towards your own personal goals and your own life, you know. So as time goes on, once we get to like, I feel like once we get to like our 40s, late 40s and stuff, that shit's gonna be like kid shit. You know, we're gonna be thinking about it like kid shit. Like, yo, like, for example, like if you see if you see your friends or your close persons to you have a significant other, and they split up, and you're in your like 40s or 50s,
Yeah.
and then you end up developing feelings for this other person, right? It's a
Right.
completely different situation than you if that were to happen in your 20s.
Yeah, yeah.
Completely different, because you're adults now and you're experienced and you have a different form of knowledge in terms of yourselves, you know. So
I agree and
I
disagree.
feel like the pride would be a little bit lower.
I agree and disagree.
But
For that specific, sorry to cut you
Yeah.
off, but for that specific case, I think, like I would never go after the girls that you've gone after ever. I think even if I'm 60 years old,
I rate that. I won't do the same for you either, brother.
like I think
That's love.
I think that's a code that stays with me forever, and I think that's just a form of respect because for this particular rule, I know there is something that you built with somebody that I never want to tarnish, even though it may not have ended the way that you want it to end.
But
Or
that
maybe,
being said, brother, that being said too, like I'm at an age where, alhamdulillah, I feel like I'm mature enough to understand that if there's love amongst other people,
Yeah.
no matter what my feelings are, I have to let that, it's natural. You know
think
what I mean?
okay,
Like I can't be selfish in that regard, you know?
I
And
get
that
it.
took a long time for me to understand.
fair.
And I feel like a lot of people don't share that sentiment.
Fair,
This is what basically what you're saying.
Long
you know?
story short, don't go after the people I've been
I'm
after.
not trying to. I'm not trying to. I'm not, there's 7 billion, 8 billion out there now, bro. Like I ain't about to do all that. Trust me.
I like the point that you made where it kind of changes as we get older. I think something that I do want to emphasize is bro code. I think at the beginning starts off as a very toxic environment.
Okay.
In a way, not super, but I think it starts off in a very toxic way, but gradually becomes something that's way healthier while you're growing up as a person. Because when you're younger, you're in this group dynamic and there's rules and standards that you must abide by. You know, like you have to do this, you have to do that, or you're not going to be included in the group, and then you're going to kind of be
Shunned.
yeah, in a way, right? But when you grow up and you become individualized and you kind of see later on that the friends that you're keeping are those that are going to last, you know? Like when you're in high school, not every one of your friends are going to stick around when you're growing older, realistically. So as you're growing older, you're creating these bonds with people who are going to stick around, and bro code kind of becomes a little bit more healthier where it's kind of the supportive environment where I want you to win. How can I help you win? And but like the rules kind of elevate us and kind of support us in being better for each other, right?
So you think it grows with us?
I do 100%. Like for example, a toxic rule growing up is there's this group dynamic where we all have to think alike. But when we're growing up and right now, let's say the age that we are, you and I, although there's a lot of similarities between us, we differ in so many different ways. But I never not want you to win, regardless, you know?
100%.
And I'm going to always be there to support you in whatever way.
And vice
Like, you
versa.
know, and like, I'm one of my bro codes is I'm going to be there for you. If it's 3 a.m., if it's 4 a.m., if it's 10 p.m.
Hopefully it's
I know-
not 3 a.m.
like I'm going to be there for you because I know that's the type of person I am and that's how I can support you, right? And I think that's a healthy relationship to have with a group of friends where it goes from being like, I think bro code becomes more of a two type of relationship. Like the bro code I have with you is not going to be the same that I have with Mukhtar, right? And it's kind of like it's creating this more of this dynamic between two people where it's more healthier, and it grows while you grow with it, right?
I agree, 100%.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think you hit it on the money when you said it's individually different for every relationship that you have.
Yeah,
Because
100%.
as time goes on, we all grow up differently, right? So, like you said, you're gonna have a different bro code with Mukhtar than you would with me, and
Yeah.
then throughout all your other friends, right? But let me ask you this: like you said at first, when we kind of get introduced to this idea of this group think bro code, it kind of starts toxic.
It
What
does,
did you
yeah.
mean by that?
Like toxic where everybody has to think the same. Like you have to abide by these rules. Let me give you an example of a rule. You can't like the same person. You can't be better than me at things. Like I think jealousy is something that's super apparent in younger men where it's like if I see you being better than me in specific things that I'm working towards, I don't think I can support you further. Like,
Interesting.
I remember there was a time where, and this is super weird, I was like in elementary school. Like young kid.
Young Jama.
And I was like in basketball, I was really good until I came to high school and found out I was super average. But in elementary school,
You had that reality check.
I was a good basketball player.
Yeah, yeah.
So that I was shooting, I was an amazing shooter. I was shooting from half court. Everybody, like, I remember there was a friend who tried to replicate what I was doing, and they couldn't. And they always got teased at me because of the shots that I was taking. Like, yo, that's a bad shot selection. I'm like, this is not
I'm making
2K.
it.
This is not 2K. Don't act like
I'm
that.
making
and
it.
the funny thing is, he used to make the same shot. He used to attempt to make the same shots as me,
But couldn't.
couldn't, right?
Yeah.
And he always, like, don't get me wrong, we're still really close friends, but he used to be salty towards me for that recess. Like, why are you doing this? I can't do that. In his head, I know that's what he was saying. But I think toxic nature is when you're younger and you're just always trying to be part of a group. It's like communism. It's like everybody should be the same. If there's one person who elevates, that person gets ostracized, or like gets kicked out, and it's not welcomed here. But right now, I think it gravitates toward this. Well, when we get older, it gravitates toward more like I want to see you win. Like I want to see you do good, even if I'm not on your level. I know seeing you succeed brings me happiness.
Yeah.
So I think that type of takes a turn the older or more mature that you get,
100%. And one thing, this is so interesting that we're having, like, every time we, sorry to bring it all the way completely third dimension, but every time we sit here and have these conversations, I always find that I've pre-thought of some of the material we're talking about throughout the week somehow, some way.
Yeah.
And this week, for some reason, I was thinking about this, and it ties in with this conversation so well. I was thinking about when we as like people are growing up, especially as youth kids, right? We have this idea of the world in general based off of how we're raised, So once we get out of our like natural habitat or like our homes and become a little bit older, that's why I always bring it back to the after high school, early college days, because that's when I realize, that's when I think about it, that's when I really got a sense for what the real world is. And that's when my idea of like just the way I process everything changed. Just those like few years after high school, like the ending of high school and like kind of the middle of college, university, those were so important for me because I felt like the world was a specific way. And this goes back to how we were thinking in high school. Our high school was a way of thinking, the Somali community is a way of thinking, But once you get exposed to different ethnicities, different people, different culture, different religions, and especially being in Toronto, such a diverse place,
100%, yeah.
your whole mind's frame of how the world works differs, right? And that hits so hard with the conversation we're having now because bro code changed forever,
It did,
right?
yeah.
That shit changed forever. Like some of the stuff you're talking about, just the way we thought in high school, in college, or sorry, not college, but early high school, middle school, elementary school, we had a specific way of thinking. We had a specific trajectory of how our lives were supposed to be. And we took a lot of that from how we were raised in our households, So once I got to those ages, 18 through like 20, 22 and shit like that, it became apparent for me that the way I grew up is not how the way the world works.
Yeah, 100%.
So there's a lot of things that have to change.
Let me give you an example. Like I've grown up in this group dynamic where no snitching.
Yeah, man.
Don't snitch.
No snitch.
Like if I get caught, if you get caught, one of us takes the
We're
L,
going
not
home.
both of us take the L.
Yeah,
right?
we're all going locked up or we're going home.
In my work world, I've never seen something so drastically different.
Yeah.
Like I've had jobs where like I've seen people mess up and I've taken the fall for them. Like I'm never gonna out somebody like, yo, that person
That
did
nigga
it.
did that shit.
Fam, there was a situation where that same person who I took the fall for
Snitched?
pointed both fingers at me
Wow.
in a situation where it didn't need to be like that.
Yeah, man.
And then that's when I realized that it's really different the way some people are, where it's like I'm willing to take the fall for people, but not everybody's willing to take the fall for you. You know, and I remember that's kind of the day where I realized where I need to change my mentality towards
Individualism?
and remember when I said like bro code is different with certain people? I think that's when it was kind of like the kickstart with me. It was like, I can't treat this person the same way that I
Yeah.
treat other people. I
Yeah.
have to start looking at you with two eyes sideways, right? And I've noticed that different people have different rules that they abide by, you know? So,
And you know, a lot of it has to do with how we read people, you know?
yeah.
Like, do you believe in reading people, like, as, like, a first judgment when you first meet them?
Most of the time I'm right, but there are times where I've been super duper wrong.
Me too. It's been happened to me where somebody just, the personality crept up on me.
Yeah,
I
it's like
didn't see it coming.
100%.
But for the most part, I usually generally have a good sense of who you are when I first meet you, and it's off of like vibes, different words that you say, you know, like shit like that. But nowadays, once like that's a skill too, like that you have to build over time when you're reading people. But nowadays, I feel like once I get a grasp of you, I give you exactly what you give me back.
100%.
You know, like
I
if
do
you're
that.
giving me nothing,
I'll
you're
give
gonna
you
get
nothing.
nothing.
I'll
You
give
know,
you nothing.
if you're giving me everything, I may not give you everything back, but I'll give you the sense of the feeling like you're getting everything
I
back.
give people the same energy they give me.
I give you the same comfort you give me.
Facts.
Exactly, and that's a skill, and that's something that ties to the bro code because like when we were growing up, it's everybody is on the same playing field almost. You know, like you said, no snitching, no one snitches.
No
You know,
snitching.
but now I'm thinking to myself, like you said, that nigga probably looks like he'll snitch on me. So I ain't gonna snitch on you, but if it comes down to it, I know you look like you're a snitch, so I'm gonna watch my back a little bit. You know what I mean?
100%.
So like there's things like that I've learned over time where I'm just like, okay, so my way of thinking doesn't apply to you.
Yeah.
So let me just change my way of thinking when it comes to this relationship with you so that I don't get fucked over.
I
You know
get
what I
you.
mean?
I get you.
And that's a big thing, I'm not gonna lie. I'm still trying to figure it out, bro. Some niggas like you said, bro, they creep up on you like,
They
oh,
do,
you're
man.
actually a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Oh shit, I didn't know it.
There are people who are really good at hiding it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
There are
man. Like
people-
sometimes it takes a lot. It takes a lot to get out of the person for them to show their true colors. But I feel like once I get one little sliver of you, really,
You're out.
goodbye, goodbye.
You know what
I lost all ratings.
Yo, but on a lighter note, another bro code rule that I still stick by is I think it's weird, and you let me know because I know you have a sister too.
Yeah,
Where don't ever mention my family. Like when you're making fun of me, make fun of me.
yeah. I would never make fun of your family.
Make fun of me.
Yeah.
Like don't ever make fun of my parents, my sister, my cats. Don't even talk about my cats, bro.
Do I ever? I'm a cat lover, man.
But what I'm saying is,
That's an unspoken rule.
that is an
100%.
unspoken rule.
Yeah.
Where like, and there are people who I've known who kind of went over that rule
Yeah,
one time, and I've had to
yeah.
let them know that I feel uncomfortable with that.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
and it was kind of with that group dynamic where everything was kind of on the table at that time. But as I grew older, that's when I realized where I feel uncomfortable when you bring insults toward my family. 100% throw anything you want at me, but that's not how it's gonna be when it's like when we're having a conversation. You know?
One of the many fights I got into in high school. I'm just gonna say that because I don't know why I was such a fighter in high school, fam, but I fought. One of the fights I got into high school was because somebody who I considered one of my friends made a joking comment about my mom,
Oh crap! Really?
and then I just swung on him. That was my natural reaction at the time. I would never do that now.
Was it a serious like?
It was a joking manner,
Okay.
but it was a comment that I heard that was about my mom, and I instantly got mad and snuffed him.
Valid though.
Valid, right?
Valid.
But that's like that's the tarnishing of the code. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's you
Never talk about
realizing
my
that's you realizing, yo, stick to the code, nigga.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%. Like
Shit
don't.
like that.
I feel like at a certain point,
We get some reality checks as time goes on. Like
Yeah.
that happens. You get some reality checks because you do some shit that you're not supposed to do, and then somebody will check you on it.
yeah.
You know?
And I want to talk about something, but if you're uncomfortable, let me know.
Hey man, I'm always uncomfortable, but let's go.
Because I actually don't want to get into
Bring
that.
it up, man. Let me go.
Okay, let me.
This is the Coffee Break
We
Podcast.
could pass it. We could pass it if you don't want to. Because have you ever had a difficult situation where I know you and your sister are similar in age,
Yeah.
where it's gotten uncomfortable with because y'all are in the same high school in the same group dynamic. Has there ever been uncomfortable situations where you had to have that were involved in this with your sister?
100%, bro. 100%. And they're never easy to be a part of, but like a part of being, I feel like for me specifically, a part of being a brother is to have some level of protection in you, right?
Yeah.
So it's second nature to me when I hear something or anything that's going on, especially at that time too, when I was such a hothead. Second nature to me to react, instead of to analyze. Now it's a little bit differently, because we're older. There's context in every situation now. I understand that, but as a kid, yeah, instantly, when there was multiple times where I was in situations where I'm like, okay, now I got to make a decision here, and for the most part, it always ended up being something either violent or something that's just not right to do. You know what I mean?
I think you had a more difficult path than me because my sisters are 5 years older than me, 11 years older than me. We were never a part of the same group dynamic. So the people who I grew up really never had any clue who my sisters were, right? So I never had to deal with the sister insults or the weird, uncomfortable conversations that I have.
You know what it was for me? Like I always found peace in the fact that since I didn't have older brothers, a lot of older figures throughout high school used to not take me under their wing, but just protect me because they saw that I didn't have an older brother and they
Yeah.
knew my situation, or they either knew my sister or something
Sure.
like that, right? So I had these guys that were looking out for me, and for the most part, anytime some situation would happen, anytime there was a situation that involved my family or something that was bigger than me, I would talk to that nigga immediately and it got handled. No matter what. No matter what. Not necessarily a hitman. I'm not saying that.
No,
I'm
I'm
just saying
joking.
I always had that outlet somewhere. Like no matter what, if it got too heavy on my shoulders, I would always find some kind of outlet to kind of deal with my situations. But there was never a situation that was never dealt with. But that was mainly the way.
That's tough.
Yeah, it's tough, bro. It's tough being a brother to an older sister.
Yeah.
You can definitely relate to that. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
I like, especially because I was super duper young when my sisters were like talking to boys who were 6, 7 years older than me. I can't fight them. I can fight them now, but
And a little part of you feels like emasculated when you hear a situation with your older sister
Yeah.
because you're younger.
But you couldn't do
And you
anything.
have that automatic disadvantage no matter what situation it is. So that's always a tough pill to swallow. You know
Fam,
what
I
I mean?
remember there was a time.
Shout out to our sisters, man. Shout out to them.
I do want to share this one experience. I remember there was a time where what's that art show that happens in Toronto, in downtown?
Nuit Blanche?
Yes, I went to that when I was in grade 9.
Why?
Me and my sisters, we went to it together.
Why?
Okay. I don't know. It was Eid too. I remember it was
Oh,
on
it was
a
on
day. It was
Eid.
on a day. It was
Wow.
Eid. So my sisters and I went.
First off, you had such a lit child. This guy went to a Kanye concert, fam. Like,
Yeah, it was
your
grade
sisters
9.
put you on, bro. We have to shout them out, man.
100%.
Come on, man.
But there was a scenario. I was out with them both, and right in front of Dundas Square, a bunch of Somali guys came up to us and was trying to talk to my sisters
In front of you.
in front of me. I'm what? How old am I? 13?
Yeah.
14.
14.
So then, I can visually see they're uncomfortable. And I remember because one of the guys put his hand on me like, "Yo, bro, let me talk to your sister," and I touched him like this, and I was shaking. I was
Yeah,
like,
thing.
"Don't ever touch me." then the guy somehow that gave them a level of respect. They're like, "All right, fine, we're out here." And then they left me alone, and my sister is alone. But at that time, I was pissing.
You're shitting bricks a lot. You're
Yeah,
like, damn.
I was like, as a younger, I know you can kind of relate to this. Being a younger brother to older sisters is super hard because they're growing up at a different pace than you, in which they're having situations where you can't really defend them.
And in another layer of it too is like you kind of think of yourself as some kind of a police or authoritative figure, but you're not because you have such little say in every situation, right?
Yeah.
So it makes it tougher. My situation was a little bit different because there was only a little bit of an age gap, but I can only imagine having years ahead, and that just puts it in a tougher situation because your natural instinct as a guy is to react
Yeah, yeah.
for the safety of your sister, right? Or for like the just to preserve her niceness or her femininity.
Yeah.
But you can't always do that.
Femininity.
like it puts you in an awkward position because you can't always do your quote unquote job. That's why I always found other people to tap their shoulder and let them know what's going on just for help. But it puts you in an awkward position because like you want your first instinct is to fight what's in front of you, but you can't, right? So what are you left with?
It's a tough realization knowing that you can't do anything.
And I think it gets even harder, and this is not like, I don't want to be too forward thinking about it. I think it gets even harder when you're a father, maybe, right? Because there's such little context that you would probably get in certain situations that you would just probably react.
Yeah, but I would want to have created a relationship with my daughters that they can share these things with me.
Yeah,
like,
but
I don't want to be like a Somali dad.
There's also taboo things that your kids will probably never share with you.
Yeah, oh my God.
You know, so like you have to brace yourself and your emotions when you find out certain things that would...
I would be heartbroken, bro.
Yeah, man.
And the fact is, I can't do anything because I would go to jail.
You're thinking about jail, bro. I'm just thinking about normal shit. Like,
no, I would be so overprotective of my daughter, bro. And if anything happened, bro, damn.
But there are unspoken rules, man, that we should adhere to as a society. It's just some of those rules, bro. Like, you gotta understand that people amongst the world do not follow the same code you do. That's one thing you got to get down. You know, after you realize that, there's a hurdle that you have to come across where you start to see fakeness in people, where you start to think that their values and their morals are along the same lines as you, but it's just an act, you know? And once you get past that, I feel like you have like this kind of shell that you put on yourself, like this protective layer. And that's kind of like the form that we're trying to get to, especially as men. You know, you want to be rugged, but you can be able to peel back layers and get to the root cause of issues and shit like that, right? So that's kind of the goal, for me at least. I don't know. You be in the gym, so you're always trying to be...
No, but that's a like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think that was one of the major reasons why I started the gym. Like, I needed to defend myself. I needed to defend, like, the people around me. And I think now I'm comfortable with being confrontational in situations because I kind of have a little bit more strength on me.
It's like reassurance.
You know? Yeah, it is. It is. Where it's like, now I know that there's less of a chance. And I'm not saying I'm out here looking like Michael B. Jordan by no means, but I know I have meat on my bones that can protect me in situations, you know? And that's one of the major reasons why I started the gym, to protect my family. You know, because last thing I ever want is a situation to happen where I can't defend the people around me and I go home and then that person faced with like the situation that just happened and I'm just here emasculated, you know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's heartbreaking too, man. It's like you lost your pride lost and you physically lost too. You never want to be in that.
That's the worst, man.
That's an L. That's like an L you can't get out of, bro. Yo, no, but listen, to be honest with you, this whole episode is just about unspoken rules, right? And we kind of glossed over a lot. There are unspoken rules out there, and we have to adhere to them, right? 100%. But it's just what we consider to be an unspoken rule can differ with so many people, just as we saw.
You and I have unspoken rules.
Just as we saw, right? That's the beauty of this podcast, man. Welcome back to the Coffee Break Podcast, guys. I love this show a lot. Real talk.
All right.